So, before Elon Musk and his cadre of 18 to 25-year-old accelerationists hijacked the treasury and made everything even more of a goddamn cyberpunk dystopia, I had a plan. After the deregulation death spiral and Democrats paved the road to fascism, I was going to break down exactly why third-party movements are a dead end in the current political landscape, and why, if we're serious about change, the primary process is our first and most important battlefield. Even now, with everything happening, that discussion is more relevant than ever, because as people scramble to figure out what the hell comes next, I'm already seeing the same mistake repeat itself. The idea that the answer is to abandon the system entirely and go all in on third parties. I get it. People want a clean break. They want an alternative that isn't tied to the corporate duopoly. They want something, anything that isn't this. But let me be clear. Right now, third parties are a trap. And if we don't understand why, we're going to waste what little time we have left. Every election cycle, people say the same thing. This is the year we break the duopoly. Vote your conscience. If everyone who hated the two-party system voted third party, we'd win. But let's say somehow a third-party candidate did win the presidency. What happens next? Congress still exists. And guess what? It's still controlled by Democrats and Republicans, because third parties aren't running serious local and state campaigns. They don't have governors, state legislatures, mayors, or city councils in any significant numbers. And that means they have zero coalition in Congress, no allies, no party infrastructure, no legislative power. And that means their presidency is dead on arrival. They can't pass laws. They can't set policy. They can't get their appointments through. And because the two major parties control Congress, they would actively work together to ensure that nothing gets done. Not because they disagree with the policies, because if a third-party president actually accomplished anything, it would prove that breaking the two-party system is possible. And the system won't allow that. And in 4 years, the voters, frustrated that nothing changed, vote them out. The two-party system reasserts itself, and the entire movement gets memory hold. This isn't theory. This is how power works in America. If the third-party movements were serious about power, they wouldn't just show up every 4 years and run a symbolic presidential campaign. They would be building power from the ground up, winning mayoral races, taking state legislatures, securing governor's mansions. That's what real political movements do. That's what the Republican Party did in the 1850s when they actually broke the two-party system. They didn't start with a presidential candidate. They started locally. So where the hell is the Green Party between elections? Where is their ground game? Where is their strategy? They don't have one because they don't exist to win power. They exist to absorb leftist energy and throw it into a black hole. And on the right, the Libertarian Party plays the same role. They don't pull voters away from Republicans in any meaningful way. They're just a pressure valve that keeps anti-establishment conservatives locked inside the system, thinking they're fighting big government when really they're just defending corporate feudalism. If we're serious about change, we don't waste time on symbolic third-party campaigns. We take the primaries first, because that's where real power struggles happen. If we can primary every corporate Democrat at every level, local, state, and federal, we can actually win. Because the dirty little secret is that most primaries have pathetic turnout. The Tea Party didn't take over the GOP by running as an independent party. They hijacked the primaries. They ran hard-right candidates against moderates in low turnout races and won by default. We have to do the same thing from the left. We have to find every primary where a corporate Democrat is running unopposed and run against them. We have to seize election boards, state legislatures, and governor's mansions, because that's where elections are actually controlled. And we have to build an independent funding structure outside of billionaire PACs, because right now they own both parties. We don't need to break the duopoly. We need to flood it and take it over. The real fight is in the primaries. Look, I get it. People want an alternative. They're desperate for something that isn't this. But if we let that desperation blind us, we're going to waste another decade chasing ghosts while the oligarchy locks down the last remaining pathways to power. Third-party movements as they exist today are not a real challenge to the system. They're a safety valve to keep us distracted. But we still have a way in, and that way is through the primaries. That's where we build our insurgency. That's where we force the system to bend. That's where we actually take power. So stop waiting for a perfect third party and start taking back the ballot. Because if we don't do this now, we may not get another chance. This is how we win.